You have been preparing for months. You have gathered every document. You have rehearsed answers in front of the mirror. And yet, as your visa appointment gets closer, there is this knot in your stomach that just will not go away. You have heard stories. You have read posts on social media. You have seen videos where people describe how their interview lasted only 30 seconds before they were handed a rejection slip. And now you are wondering if all your effort, all your preparation, all your dreams of studying in the United States could disappear in the span of a single conversation with a consular officer. If that fear is running through your mind right now, I want you to take a breath. You are not alone. And more importantly, you are in the right place to get real answers. Welcome to Real Guide Updates. My name is Umar, and on this channel, we focus on giving you accurate, fact-based immigration information, without the drama, without the panic, and without the speculation that you see flooding social media. Today, we are going to talk about something that every prospective international student needs to understand before walking into that consulate. We are going to talk about F1 visa denial reasons, not to scare you, but to educate you. Because when you understand why visas get denied, you can prepare in a way that avoids those pitfalls. Knowledge is your strongest weapon in this process, so let us get into it. The first thing I want you to understand is what actually happens during an F1 visa interview and why denials occur in the first place. The F1 visa is a non-immigrant student visa that allows you to study at accredited academic institutions in the United States. It is one of the most commonly issued visa categories, and hundreds of thousands of students receive it every year. However, it is also a category where denials happen, and understanding why requires you to understand how the system thinks. When a consular officer interviews you, they are not trying to catch you in a lie or trick you with difficult questions. Their job is to determine whether you meet the requirements of the visa category. For the F1 visa specifically, they are looking at a few key things. They want to see that you have been accepted into a legitimate educational institution. They want to confirm that you have the financial ability to pay for your education and living expenses. They want to assess whether you have genuine intent to study. And perhaps most importantly, they want to be convinced that you plan to return to your home country after your studies are complete. This last point is where most denials actually happen. The most common reason for F1 visa denial is something called Section 214B of the Immigration and Nationality Act. If you have ever heard someone say their visa was denied under 214B, this is what it means. Under this section, the law presumes that every applicant for a non-immigrant visa is actually an intending immigrant until they prove otherwise. In other words, the burden is on you to demonstrate that you have strong ties to your home country and that you will return after completing your education. The consular officer is not required to believe you. You have to convince them. Now, what does it mean to have strong ties to your home country? This is where many applicants make mistakes because they do not fully understand what the officer is looking for. Ties to your home country can include family relationships, property ownership, business interests, job prospects, or any other compelling reason that would bring you back. If you are a young student who has never worked, does not own property, and has immediate family members already living in the United States, the officer may question whether you truly intend to return. This does not mean you will automatically be denied, but it does mean you need to present your case in a way that addresses these concerns proactively. Let me give you an example. Suppose two students apply for the F1 visa on the same day at the same consulate. Both have been accepted to similar universities in the United States. Both have similar financial documents. But one student comes from a family with a well-established business in their home country, has parents who are staying behind, and can articulate a clear plan for how their degree will help them contribute to that family business when they return. The other student has a parent already living in the United States, has an older sibling who overstayed a previous visa, and when asked about future plans, gives vague answers about maybe staying in America if opportunities arise. You can probably guess which student the officer will feel more confident approving. It is not about wealth or privilege. It is about demonstrating intent and having a clear narrative that makes sense. Another major reason for F1 visa denials is insufficient or unconvincing financial documentation. The United States wants to be sure that you can afford your tuition and living expenses without needing to work illegally or become a burden on the system. Your I-20 form will list the estimated cost of attendance, and you need to show that you or your sponsor has the ability to cover that amount. This typically means bank statements, income tax returns, employment letters, scholarship letters, or affidavits of support from family members. But here is where applicants sometimes go wrong. It is not enough to simply show that the money exists in a bank account right now. Consular officers are trained to look for suspicious patterns. If your bank account shows a sudden large deposit just weeks before your interview, they will wonder where that money came from. If the balance does not match your sponsor's stated income, they will question whether the funds are genuinely available to you. If your documents are inconsistent or look altered in any way, that raises serious red flags. The key is not just having money, but having a believable financial picture that makes sense when all the pieces are put together. Now let us talk about academic qualifications, because this is another area where denials can occur. The consular officer may look at your academic background and assess whether it makes sense for you to pursue the program you have been admitted to. If you have poor grades in your home country but have suddenly been admitted to a competitive American university, the officer might question the legitimacy of your admission. If you are switching fields dramatically without a reasonable explanation, that could also raise doubts. For example, if you studied commerce your entire life and are now applying to study advanced biotechnology, you need to be able to explain why that transition makes sense for your career. This brings us to another critical point, which is the importance of being able to articulate your study plan clearly. You would be surprised how many applicants walk into their interview without being able to explain why they chose their specific university, why they chose their specific program, or how this degree fits into their long-term career goals. Consular officers interview dozens of applicants every single day. They can quickly tell the difference between someone who has genuinely researched their options and someone who is just reciting memorized answers. If you cannot explain why you are going to a small college in a state you have never heard of before, the officer will wonder if education is really your primary purpose. Speaking of the interview itself, let me talk about how your behavior and communication style can impact the outcome. This is not about being a perfect English speaker. Consular officers understand that not everyone is fluent. What matters is that you can communicate clearly, answer questions directly, and show confidence without being arrogant. If you give overly rehearsed answers, the officer might sense that you are hiding something. If you become nervous and start contradicting yourself, that creates doubt. If you seem evasive or refuse to make eye contact, that affects the impression you leave. I want to be very clear about something here. The interview is not a trick or a trap. It is a conversation. The officer is trying to understand your situation and make a decision based on the information you provide. If you are honest, prepared, and able to explain your circumstances in a straightforward way, you have already overcome one of the biggest hurdles. The applicants who struggle are often those who try to present a false image or who have been coached to give answers that do not reflect their actual situation. Now let me address some of the common myths and misconceptions that I see floating around online, because these often cause unnecessary panic. One of the biggest myths is that F1 visas are being denied at higher rates than ever before because of some secret policy change. This is simply not supported by the data. While approval rates can fluctuate from year to year and from consulate to consulate, there has not been a dramatic policy shift targeting legitimate students. The requirements have remained largely the same. What has changed is that more people are applying, which means more people are also being denied in absolute numbers. But that does not mean the denial rate has increased. Another myth is that the consular officer makes their decision in the first 10 seconds, and nothing you say after that matters. This is not true. While first impressions do matter, officers are trained to consider the totality of your case. If you start your interview nervously but recover and give strong answers, that can still lead to an approval. Conversely, if you start well, but then stumble over basic questions about your finances or study plans, that can turn things around quickly. The point is that the interview is a dynamic process, not a snap judgment. I also hear people say that if you are from a certain country, you are automatically more likely to be denied. While it is true that applicants from some countries may face additional scrutiny due to historical patterns of visa fraud or overstays, this does not mean that nationality determines your outcome. Consular officers are required to evaluate each applicant as an individual based on their specific circumstances. If you have strong ties to your home country, solid financials, a clear study plan, and can communicate your intent effectively, your nationality is not going to be the deciding factor. Another common misconception is that bringing a large stack of documents guarantees approval. Some applicants bring folders filled with hundreds of pages, thinking that more paperwork means a stronger case. In reality, the officer may only look at a few key documents. What matters is that your documents are organized, relevant, and consistent with what you are saying verbally. Bringing unnecessary paperwork can actually work against you if it makes you appear disorganized or unable to identify what is important. Let me also address what happens if your visa is denied. A denial is not the end of the road. Many applicants who are denied the first time apply again and are approved on their second or third attempt. The key is understanding why you were denied and addressing that issue before you reapply. If you were denied under 214B, you need to either present stronger evidence of ties to your home country or wait until your circumstances change in a meaningful way. Simply reapplying with the same documents and the same answers is unlikely to produce a different result. If you receive a denial, you should receive a written or verbal explanation from the consular officer about the general reason for the denial. Pay close attention to what they say. If they mention concerns about your finances, that tells you what area you need to strengthen. If they question your intent to return, you need to think about how to present a more compelling narrative about your post-graduation plans. In some cases, it may be worth consulting with an immigration attorney who can review your case and provide professional guidance before you reapply. Now, I want to talk about preparation, because this is truly where you have control. The first step is to make sure all your documents are in order before your interview date. This includes your valid passport, your I-20 form signed by your designated school official, your DS-160 confirmation page, your visa appointment confirmation, your SEVIS fee receipt, financial documents, academic transcripts, standardized test scores, and any other supporting materials that demonstrate your qualifications and intent. Beyond documents, you need to prepare for the types of questions you might be asked. Common questions include why you want to study in the United States, why you chose your specific university and program, who is funding your education, what your plans are after graduation, and why you will return to your home country. You should be able to answer these questions naturally and without hesitation. Practice with friends or family, but do not memorize scripted answers. The goal is to be comfortable enough that you can have a genuine conversation. It also helps to research your university and program thoroughly. Know the name of the department head. Know what courses you will be taking. Know why the curriculum at that particular school is better suited to your goals than programs in your home country. This level of detail shows the officer that you are genuinely invested in your education and have not just applied to any school that would accept you. On the day of your interview, dress appropriately and arrive early. Being late creates stress and can affect your performance. Bring your documents organized in a way that allows you to quickly find what the officer asks for. During the interview, listen carefully to each question, answer directly, and do not provide more information than necessary. If you do not understand a question, it is perfectly fine to ask for clarification. Speaking too much or going off on tangents can sometimes create confusion or contradict something you said earlier. I also want to reassure you that the vast majority of applicants who prepare properly and present genuine cases are approved. The F1 visa exists because the United States welcomes international students and values the contributions they make to American universities and communities. The consular officers are not looking for reasons to deny you. They are simply doing their job, which is to confirm that you meet the requirements. If you can demonstrate that you do, you have every reason to be optimistic. Before I wrap up, I want to encourage you to always verify information from official sources. The U.S. Department of State website provides detailed guidance on the F1 visa application process, including required documents and interview tips. The USCIS website has additional information about maintaining your student status once you arrive in the United States. Your university's International Student Office is also an excellent resource, as they work with students like you every single day and can provide personalized advice based on your situation. Please be cautious about information you see on social media or in online forums. While there are many well-meaning people sharing their experiences, there is also a lot of misinformation, outdated advice, and outright panic-driven content that does not reflect reality. One person's denial does not mean the same thing will happen to you. Every case is different, and your outcome depends on your individual circumstances and how you present them. I also want to remind you that immigration rules and policies typically do not change overnight. There is a legal process involved in making changes, and those changes are usually announced well in advance. If you hear a rumor about some new policy that is going to make visas impossible to get, take a deep breath and check official sources before you panic. More often than not, these rumors are exaggerated or completely false. As we come to the end of this video, I hope you now have a clearer understanding of why F1 visas get denied and how you can position yourself for success. The key takeaways are simple. Demonstrate strong ties to your home country. Show consistent and credible financial documentation. Be able to explain your study plan and career goals clearly. Present yourself confidently and honestly during the interview. And do not let social media panic affect your preparation or your mindset. If you found this video helpful, I would really appreciate it if you could subscribe to Real Guide updates and turn on notifications so you never miss a new video. We put out content regularly to keep you informed about important immigration topics in a calm and factual way. If you know someone who is preparing for their F1 visa interview and might be feeling anxious, please share this video with them. It might give them the clarity and confidence they need. And as always, if you have questions about immigration topics you would like me to cover, leave them in the comments below. I read every comment and use your feedback to create content that actually addresses the concerns you have. This channel is here to serve you with real information, not rumors, not fear, just facts. Thank you for watching. Stay informed, stay calm, and I will see you in the next video.